Okay. We'll start on the screen. Alright. Sub30, Magicite, Shadow Dragon. Looking at the team comp we got up here. It's a Holy Mage team, which I didn't expect when I first saw the boss. I thought it was going to be very clearly a physical Holy, but due to the first OSB that I got in the game, which was Hope's OSB, I actually found a way to clear this Sub30. It's good enough, just having him getting entrusted and relying on the buffs that he gets from Reigns, Aphmau, and Onion Knight all throughout the course of the fight. And you see him equipped with a plus Holy Staff and a plus Holy Robe as well. So that really boosts out his damage potential, and you'll see that when we get in there. So that, I mean, that's what Reigns is doing. Reigns buffs and does his instacast thing to contribute all the damage that he can. But there comes a point in the battle where it's just Hope using OSBs every single turn. Again, Ferris, what she's doing in this fight is really just entrusting to Hope. The only wrinkle in that, and that's the reason why she's using the God Among Men, the Thunderlord status, RM, is because she uses Unicorn at 10 seconds into the fight. What this does is it allows me to heal this fight with Aphmau, which she can if I get lucky, but I don't have any healing problems in this fight if I'm using Unicorn and Aphmau, and it really takes a lot of variation out of it. And what's nice about this is the presence of Unicorn in my Magicite stack allows me to increase my holy damage output. So it made for a good mix to have in my my primary Magicite slot. Aphmau heals, buffs. That's it. It's basically what she does for all of the rest of my mage parties. And Onion Knight is our sacrifice. With this party, I'm unable to do the requisite number of damage, requisite amount of damage within the time limit to keep everybody alive during the course of the fight. So at 10 seconds or so, the person with the lowest amount of health dies, and that's Onion Knight. And I can ensure that it's Onion every single time because I wall on first turn with Aphmau, which gives Onion Knight enough defenses to absorb withstand a hit of Memento Mori from Sid Reigns. And this is just calculated out to, in basically every single attempt that I make, that Onion Knight ends up with having the lowest amount of health in the party, which means he's the target that is offed and executed. So what he does is he BSBs on first turn, and then Faith on Hope on second turn, giving Hope 4 magic buffs. And then Onion Knight just dies. And that's his contribution. From then on, it's a Sid Reigns and Hope show. So let's get the fight started. This happened in another one of my commentaries, where Aphmau moves slow. I think this happens in just about every Ferris Onion Knight Aphmau group I have. So Ferris is going to go first, because she has the highest amount of speed. And then if I activate her first ability quick enough, which is Wrath, then ATB is going to skip past Aphmau because Aphmau is so slow to Onion Knight, and then to Sid Reigns, then to Hope, and then to Aphmau last. And that's fine. That's okay. Her job here is obviously crucial as she's a healer, but there's nothing time-based around her what she does here, and so it's okay. So what we do here on first turn is Wrath with Ferris, BSB with Onion Knight, Wrath with Sid Reigns, because we're going to Memento Mori onto Onion Knight second turn, because we need to make sure that wall is up so we don't kill Onion Knight ourselves. And then, as you see on the right sidebar, Hope has Alexander. It's an R3 Alexander, and he uses it 3 times. and then he OSBs for the rest of the fight. He's using Alexander because we do not currently have a 5-star Holy Summon. So Alexander is his best source of holy damage, and what I want to do and use that on him for is the increased amount of soul break generation you get from it. It's a base 60 points, which gets increased to 90 points per. So he generates his own 270 soul break points. And this helps him over the course of the fight, as you'll see. So, Ferris's ATB is out of sync, which is great. Out of sync ATB is the best. Because there's no conflict. So, while waiting to input her commands, no one else is being left behind. So I input a Wrath again with her next. For her first 3 turns are Wraths. That's when she's able to go at 10 seconds and use Unicorn. But here's probably the most important and complex turn in the entire battle. Ferris has a Wrath cooking, but I got 3 ATBs about to come up. And Sid Reigns is going to use Memento Mori on Onion Knight. Then I'm going to Alexander, again, with Hope. And then I'm going to Faith onto Hope with Onion Knight. And by the time those are all done, Aphmau and then Ferris's ATBs will be about to be up. And then I just put in Shelga on Aphmau and Wrath on Ferris. But it's the targeted Memento Mori and the targeted Faith, which makes this kind of... It's an intensive turn, but it's the beginning of the fight, and I've done it so many times that it's second nature now. And then Shelga Wrath to close it out after the Faith. We hit Onion Knight, and he gets shoved down to the lowest amount of HP in the party. That is exactly what we want to happen. That is not what we want to happen. Double cast coming out from Sid Reigns heals the boss. What can you do? It's not that much, but... Alright. Now, here we have a bit of a problem that I conquered. Maybe 2 attempts before this happened. Ferris and Sid Reigns basically have even ATB, but on some attempts, Sid Reigns' ATB had been coming up here, and on some attempts, Ferris has had. And since Hope's is right behind them, and Hope at this point in the battle needs to immediately input every action that he makes for the rest of the battle. And you'll see why when we get to the end. So I can't delay, and because I can't delay, there's 2 things that need to go on here. Sid Reigns needs a Wrath, and Ferris needs to use Unicorn. So I need to be spam clicking one of these. I was able to get all my actions prior to here, all in order, well enough that I was able to make it so Ferris's ATB came up here all of the time. And that is exactly what I want, because I need to be able to spam click whatever I know is going to come up. And since I know I need to Unicorn next, that's where you can see my cursor. That's what I'm hitting for. So at 10 seconds is when your Magicite becomes available, and as you saw, I waited for it, and that allowed me to get that going. And you're going to see that it's very important that the Magicite gets active here. And Onion Knight dies. And on Aphmau's 3rd turn, she activates her BSB. This is the last turn of Alexander from Hope, and now he will OSB for the rest of the fight. Because this is where we get offer and trust. I hold the Entrust until after the Unicorn, even though the Unicorn doesn't generate any Soul Break gauge, just in case Ferris gets hit. That's more Soul Break points she can transfer over at once. And the way this fight works is Sid Reigns does 2 Wraths and 1 Memento Mori cast. The Memento Mori cast is on our ally, so it doesn't exploit weakness or anything. Even, I mean, the boss absorbs it anyway, so it doesn't work. Sid Reigns needed to get hit once. He did get hit once here, so we're all good. And now you see how all of the buffs have stacked up properly, and this works out perfectly for Hope. Now he can start OSBing, because we have our Onion Knight BSB, we have Faith, we have Aphmau's BSB, and now we have Sid Reigns' BSB going off just a hair before we start up the cast of Hope's OSB, and that's perfect. By the grace of the great healing of Unicorn Magicite, we're able to use Aphmau's Command 1 here to help chip in a little extra damage as Aphmau uses her Command 2 to Medica the party for the rest of the fight. So 84,000, it's fine. That's what we're looking at. I would have preferred more. I had another strat which got me more, but I played safer here. As you can see on the team comp, I have the major darkness resist on Hope. The rest of the fight here is really simple. Reigns does the Reigns thing. He just spams Command 1 until the end of the fight where he uses his BSB. Aphmau just uses her Command 2 every single turn, and Hope uses his OSB every single turn. The only wrinkle from here on is Ferris, who after the first Entrust does 2 Wraths, then an Entrust, then a Wrath Entrust, then a Wrath Entrust. It's just optimal and allows Hope to use an OSB every single turn for the rest of the fight. So that was the 2 Wrath Entrust. Using the auto trick on the left side to make sure that Reigns is able to get in as many actions as he can. Because his ATB does matter in this one. As we'll see, he'll get an action off very, very close to the end of the fight. And since he casts instantly, it counts. It matters. Then we have another single Wrath Entrust going to Hope now. Next turn. Couple double casts by Reigns. I'm not sure if this strategy requires him to double cast at all, as long as Hope gets off all of his OSBs. I haven't mathed it out. I don't think I've had an attempt where he hasn't gotten at least one. So we're at 25.54 seconds, and there's not a whole lot of health left on that boss. That's because Reigns got some good RNG with his double casts, but it actually doesn't end up mattering for this attempt, because I do still need that last OSB from Hope. But I didn't need to. I made a mistake here. On this coming turn, for Reigns, I used his BSB. But that wasn't necessary. His ATB comes up here at 27.5. If he uses his first command here, he still gets another action in the fight. So by using his BSB here, I cancel the instant cast chain and remove him from the rest of the fight. So this is his last action. That's a huge mistake. That is at least 28,000 damage lost, and that's a problem with this because on some attempts, Hope isn't able to get off his last OSB. Well, that doesn't have to be an issue if Reigns is controlled properly. I did not do so. I use his BSB here, and Reigns does not get a last turn. And you'll see how close this is, and it becomes quite clear that if Reigns got his last turn, then that 28,000 damage, yeah, that would have been the difference. But I did put in my actions in the fight properly. As you saw, Reigns just got his action at 29 seconds. That would have been it. But instead, we have to rely on Hope here. And at 29.89 seconds, Hope gets off his last OSB. Totally overkill, but there was nobody else here that could have contributed that once I screwed up with Reigns. Is there any questions or comments about the fight? Ugh. It's much more consistent than it used to be. Well, when I first did it. I say that like it happened a while ago, but it was only like 4 days. Reigns is insane. Yep. His BSB is... It's the first USB. It's not fair that he's allowed to party buff like that. And have an instant cast burst command. And if he needs it, he absolutely didn't in that fight. But if he does need it, the second command to buff himself further. A different party order would make it smoother, because sometimes I do need to reset the fight. If I'm unable to put in the first Wrath for Ferris, Aphmau comes up, and I'm expecting Onion Knight's ATB to come up, so I'm hammering the Burst Soul Break, but Aphmau also starts out with Mako Might, so I just use her Burst instead. I'm like, alright, well, game's over. How much time could I shave with a fully dived Shulk? I don't know, but it would make it absolutely 100% consistent. Because that would essentially be an extra turn of OSB. You know what I could probably do? Because one thing you don't want to do with Shulk, because the first 3 actions that she makes in a fight are instantaneous, don't use Thunder God status on her. Because Thunder God status does nothing for instantaneous actions. So you use a Striker on her instead. Or Mako Might. In this situation, I would use a Striker on her. That frees up the Thunder God RM. I'd throw it on Hope. He'd do less damage, a lot less damage, but the amount of extra OSBs he'd be able to throw out because of the insane generation that you get from Shulk, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. Oh, yeah, you could also get Reigns going earlier too, yeah. I do like bursts and stuff like that getting off at like 13 to 15 seconds because they expire at the end of the 30-second fight. But Reigns is so powerful that you absolutely want him going as soon as possible. So what I'd probably do with Shulk in that situation is Wrath a striker, Wrath and Trust to Reigns. Then probably Wrath and Trust to Hope. You know, if Hope was using Thunder God status, I'd want to fill it. There would be gaps that need to be filled in because he'd act so quickly that even Shulk wouldn't be able to pump him up, especially if Shulk is spending 2 turns getting Reigns active. I'd probably put Valigarmanda or Diega on Hope for just extra Soul Break generation. Turn 3. Oh, yeah, well, I would say turn 3. I could put the major darkness resist on Onion Knight, and he may be able to survive a first turn Memento Mori. Or I could just find a different way to go about reducing his health. Unicorn's awesome. Unicorns are awesome, and Unicorn Magicite is awesome. That's my last words. Take it to the grave.